Hello everyone, it's nice to see you all. My name is Jiyanko. Today we are going to talk about phonics with Phonics Show. When it comes to phonics teaching, we often get frustrated, right? We are not sure how far we could go with this little learners. So sometimes we are craving for tips and then how to scaffold extra, right? So through this workshop, I hope you can get some useful tips that you can use in your phonics classroom with your students. So let's get started. Today we are going to use Phonics Show Book 3. And especially we're going to look into Unit 2, which covers long vowel I. I hope you all ready. In one unit in every Phonics Show book, you can find these 4 parts. I start, I learn, I read, I can part. Pretty straightforward, right? Within I start part, your students are gonna have new target sounds and words. And then after they have I start part, you are going to lead them to practice to understand better about the relationship of target letter and sound. After they finish I learn, they're going to go to I read part, right? Even though you teach them target words and sound, if they see them in a sentence or in a story, they're gonna get confused, right? So it's very recommendable to use decodable readers to make sure that they learn all the target sound and words. After they finish I read part, yes, it's time to check if they understand everything with I can part. This part is going to help you to check your students' understanding through listening and reading and also writing activities. Tada! I start part. If you look at I start part, you are going to find out this sing along and then chant along section. You might be curious, isn't this phonics book? But before they have this phonics target sound and words, you want to make sure that they know the words that you are going to use to introduce those target sounds and words, right? So with this sing along and then chant along, they're going to have the chance. After that, you're going to introduce this target sound and a little bit of a practice after all. So we're going to start with this sing-along part. If you look at this song, it's pretty simple and then short. And then you're going to see this IE for long vowel I. So you want them to make sure that they can focus on this part. So first sing along, you can make them point this out first. And if you have time, you can play this a second time with make sure that they can write down this I up in the air. And then finally, third sing along, you can do this writing down I and E up in the air together. So they can just write down once or twice as they could. So don't try to push them too hard to finish everything at once. You can play 2 or 3 times if your time is okay with it. So let's listen to the song.
Pine and kite have a long vowel I. What's that sound? I. It's the long vowel I.
Right? Good job, everyone. Now we are going to go to this chant along part. If you look at this page, yes, we are going to have this 8 words all together, right? So while they're doing chant, what you can make them do is point out the words. because even though they don't know the words, it's pretty straightforward because you can find the numbers right next to the words. So they can just look at the number 1, 2, 3, something like that. So first, chant. You can just make them listen to it and then make them point out where the word is located. After that, for second chant alone, you can make them move their body around. For example, bike, right? And then 9, straightforward, right? And hike, something like that. So they can remember the words in a better way. So they can use this one till the end of this unit. Let's listen to the chant.
Here comes word chant.
Here comes word chant.
I pine.
I pine.
I 9.
I 9.
I 5.
I 5.
I hive.
I hive.
I bike.
I bike.
I hike.
I hike.
I bite.
I bite.
I kite.
I kite.
You all did a great job. So I just mix this all together. Sometimes I like to use some classroom prop with them. So I can invite 1 or 2 students up front to the board, and then they're going to point this out words as they listen to this chant, right? So you can do this kind of activities when you listen to the audio with your students. Then it's time to introduce the target sound and words. Since they already know short vowel I, you can start from here and then introduce magic E to make this I to long vowel I, right? So, p, I, n, pin. Good job, everyone. What about this one then? K, I, t, kit. Amazing. Excellent. Now, can you find magic E over here? Let's see what happens if I meet this magic E. Still has E sound, or it's gonna be changed? Let's see. Pine. Interesting. What about this one? Instead of kit, kite. Magic E does some magic to I sound. It is changed to I. Excellent. Let's listen to the audio all together.
Pin,
Pin,
pine,
pine. Everyone? Great. And then
kit,
kit,
kite,
kite. Amazing. So from now on, whenever we see this magic E, we are going to do this motion. Can you do it? Can you show me? Great, right? Magic E. Magic E. Good. Now it's time to do a little coloring and then speaking activity. If you look at this page over here, your students are gonna read one word by one word. And then think about if that has magic E or not. After they think about it, they can choose the colored pencil and then color this. And then before you let them do this directly on their book, I recommend you to do it as a whole group all together. After they finish those participation with you, then they can go to the book. So if you look at this, encourage them to see. Can you see E at the end? Is that a magic E? Right? Good job, everyone. So, pine, pine. Good. What about the next one? It. Kit. No magic E. Good job, everyone. What about next one? Can you find it? Magic E. Where is it? The end. So we can do this magic E motions all together. Good job. And magic E. Dugu dugu dugu. Yes. Good. 9 and big. No E, I can find E over there. That's okay, right? And then kite. Can you find it? Someone mentioned this, right? Great job, everyone. And what about this one? Pin, right? So, you guys did a great job. So, what are the words that you need to color in blue? This one? No, right? That one. Great. And what about this one? Red or blue? Blue. Good job, everyone. And what about this one? Can you find magic E? Long vowel I or short vowel I? Good. Short vowel I. So you can color this in red. So you did a great job with this one. And then second one. Yes, red. And third one. Magic E at the end. That means long vowel I. Hive. Excellent. 9. Amazing. And then I can find E at the end. That means short vowel I. E sound. Big. So red. And kite. Good. Pin. Short vowel I. You did a great job, everyone. Now we are going to go to I learn part. If you look at I learn part, yes, we are going to have 8 words to practice all together. And then you want them to learn this 8 words with listening, speaking, writing, and then also reading activities all together. So let's start with this introduction part. And in this part, yes, you want them to make sure that they notice this magic E at the end with these motions. And make sure that they know how to blend these words. So, listen. Pine, right? Pine. Good job.
Pine.
Pine. Good. And then you can do magic E at the end.
Pine.
Pine. And when you introduce the words, I want you to introduce some motions that related to the words altogether. In this case, your students are going to remember the meaning further. So those words are going to stay in their head longer than just speaking these words like pine, right? So let's think about the motion. Pine, right? Pine trees are pretty amazing. So you can do some kind of motions with your students. And 9 is pretty straightforward, right? 9. You can show 9 with your fingers.
9.
And then 5 is
5.
5. 5. Make them repeat the word with the magic E at the end. And also, you can divide your students into 2 groups. So this group, repeat after this audio, but show the meanings to you. And then second half of the classroom, you can make them think about this magic E and then switch to the next row. You can do this kind of activities as you wish. And hive, it's pretty hard to describe where bee lives. So
hive,
hive, right? Good job. And bike.
bike,
Bike, right? So mix those two together so you can make sure your students are gonna get this magic E and also meanings at the same time.
hike,
Hike, right?
bite,
Bite,
kite,
kite. Great. Now they're going to listen to the audio and then try to trace the word within a book. But I do understand sometimes the age group who are going to learn the phonics are pretty low, right? Sometimes age 6, age 5. In that case, not all of them have this fine motor skill. In that case, I can recommend you to prepare some of this kind of the props nearby the store where you can get this school supplies. So they can get together with scented markers and then they can write that down when they listen to the audio. And then they can practice it in a bigger, wider format. Then you can lead them to write that down in their book. I think that's really nicer way because as I mentioned before, they just embarked the long journey to learn a language. So if you overwhelm them with lots of writing at the early age, then they're gonna be very overwhelmed about this learning a language, right? So they're not gonna feel any joy out of it. I don't want that happen. You don't want that happen either, right? So listen.
Number 1. Ein. 9. 9.
Ein and 9, right? Then they're going to write that down. If they have a hard time to write down this, then yes, you can just write this N in advance and then invite your students to write down this long vowel I with magic E first before they write down the whole words by their own, right?
Number 2. I've.
I've.
Hive.
Hive, right? So they can write that down up in the air, right? Or you can make them write this down in this paper. Then you can make them transfer that into their own book. And this one too. Let's listen.
Number 3. Ike.
Ike.
Bike.
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 Good, right? And number 4.
Number 4. Ite. Kite.
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 Kite. Then they can write this down. By doing this, they make sure that this I has this magic E and they sound like it. So this is very complex level of practice that you can do with your students. And then after that, this is a little expansion. If you look at this picture, they're going to think about the words, right? What was this? What is this? Kite, right? And then Ike. I think this is right? Think about that and then they can transfer that into this writing section. So if you have a big class And then if you want to use this classroom PPT, then definitely you can invite 1 or 2 students at the same time so they can discuss, they can do this all together. So you can divide your students into 2 groups. So one, this group come to the board and then try to solve this. Second, come, solve. You can definitely do that. And then once they finish doing this, then the other team's gonna tell you if that is right or not. So sometimes if we don't have enough time, we tend to let them do this kind of questionnaire in their book. In that case, they're going to master the skill to fill in the blank, not the language itself. You don't want that happen, especially with the phonics teaching. So take your time to invite your students, come to the board, think about it, and then check with everyone else. That would be the really nice flow for you to do in your phonics lesson. So let's do this number 1.
Number 1. Ite. Kite.
Kite, ite. This one is right, or this one? Oh, you guys did a great job. I thought so too. Kite. And then is there anyone who can write this down over here? Any volunteers? Amazing. Come to the board and then you are going to write this down. He or she did a great job. So now let's do this on your book, everyone. Excellent. Amazing. Now let's get to the next one over here. So this one is a pine, right? Nice tree over there. So v or n. Fine. I think so too. Great job, everyone. So is there anyone who can do this? You can invite your students. They can come to the board and then do as a group. So let's do this all together.
Number 3. Ein. Pine.
Pine. And then I knew you are going to do it. Great job, everyone. Now let's look at this one. Ah. Bite, right? Ite, Ike. Bite or bike. This is not a bike, right? So bite. Good job,
Number
everyone.
5. Ite. Bite.
Bite. Bite. Good. You've done a great job. Amazing. And let's get going.
Number 6. I've. 5.
5, right? I've. Is that a 5 or fine? 5, right? Good job, everyone. Excellent. And let's get going. And then after they do this activity, now it's time to look at the picture and then try to think of the words and say that words out loud. After that, think about if that word has a long vowel I. So first, invite your students to look at the picture and then you can give them some hint with this flashcard. I know that kids are kids. They're really like small children. So they might get frustrated if they come to the board. In that case, you can give them some hint with this word card, right? So, pine, amazing, right? And this one is pin. Good. And bike and vase. If they get confused with this word, then you can give them the words. Vase, bake, hive, kite, kit. Amazing. Now our job is to find long I sound. I with this magic E. So let's think about the words itself from the number 1 over here. Pine, right? And then number 2, you can encourage your students to spell this word because they've done short vowel I, so they must be able to do this. So P, P, I, N, pin. Something like that. Encourage them to spell this out. Bike and then vase. Good. We all know the words now. And then, is there anyone who can find one word with the magic E, long vowel I? Any volunteer? Come to the board and then touch that word. Good job. Touch this word. Amazing. Yes. Bike for sure has long vowel I. Amazing. And then you invite next students come up to the board and then touch this one. Let's see. Do we have magic E at the end? Probably not, right? And then also this is pin. Pin, right? So invite your students to one by one and then check the answers all together. So if you have a bigger number of students, like more than 20, for example, in that case, I like to do a little speed game with my students. Divided your students into 3 or 4 teams, so they get together. At this moment, they can find the words with the long vowel I and then present that in front of the classroom. So after they present those words, and then they can check their answers to each other. So it's a really nice process that you can do. Tweak a bit of this questionnaire, but they think it's much more active exercise than just sitting down and then solving the questions on the book, right? So let's check the answers. Fine, for sure, yes. Bike has a magic E at the end. Hive, amazing, good job. Kite, good. I think all of you got this 4 answers. Amazing, excellent. Now it's time to do I read part. If you look at the story in I read part, it's a little long, right? So before you lead your students to read this part, you can practice sentence with this listening and then repeat after listening part. Then check the words with your students so they can understand better when they read this storyline. So let's get started. So first, listen and repeat section over here. So this is a short sentence, but by practicing this short sentence, they're gonna gain some fluencies. So when they have longer text, they're not gonna so freaked out, right? So first sentence, I ride a bike. I see a pine. I fly a kite, right? So at the beginning, I recommend you to read one by one with your students because they learn the words, but if they wanna read a sentence, that might be a little challenge for your students. So read one by one so they make sure that they can pronunciate each word properly.
Number 1. Ride a bike. I ride a bike. Number 2. See a pine. I see a pine. Number 3. Fly a kite. I fly a kite.
After they listen to this audio, you can make them repeat and repeat till they master to say this sentence. When they finish this sentence, I can make them speed out a bit. So it has number 1, 2, 3. So you divide your students into certain groups. So I can point out 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, 3. You can call out some of your students or as a whole group or boy versus girls. So as you wish, you can make them practice so they can gain some fluencies. So that means they're gonna have some confidence when they read the story later. And then after that, you want them to check their understanding of the word meaning. So in this case, what they're going to see is just a picture, right? Hive, right? So make sure that they understand the meaning of this picture. Is that a pine or hive? Good! I think so too. You did a great job to find this one. And then let's read this number 2 inside of this mark over here. Bite, bike. This one is a bite or bike. Bike. Great job, everyone. Let's read this sentence all together. I like to ride a bike. Amazing. And next one. I see kites, right? And I have 5 kites or pines. Kites, right? You all did a great job. And then now we are going to find the picture that goes with each sentence. I'm going to start with this one, the first picture over here. Can you see bike? No, right? What about kites? I don't see them neither, right? That means, oh, I see a hive. Great. That goes with number 1. And let's look at the second picture over here. It's pretty straightforward, right? 5 kites. I see them too. So number 3 is the right answer. Great. And then last one over here. Yeah, I like to ride a bike, right? Good job, everyone. That goes with the number 2. You did a great job. Now I think you're ready to have this story with you. And when you introduce this story to your students, one thing that you can do is make them focus on this long vowel I sound with the magic E. So it's very straightforward. Everything is in red. So whenever they see this long vowel I sound with the magic E, magic motions, right? So they can do it. And when they finish first reading, you make sure that they can notice all this long vowel I sound within the text. And if you have more time to do it with this story reading, that means next time you can definitely make them focus on the meanings. I know that I understand that this might be a little intense for them to understand, then check their understanding with the given questionnaire. Then in that case, they can get the nuance of the story and then what this is telling about the basic concept of it. They can definitely find that out. So let's listen to the story first.
When the weather is fine, I like to play outside.
I like to hike. I like to see green pines.
I like to fly my pink kite. I like to ride my red bike.
I like to play hide and seek.
Playing outside is always fun.
Right. Good job. And once they finish reading the first time, as I mentioned, you can make them focus on the words itself. So, I'm fine, or hike, pine, and also I like, something like that motions. So, you want them to understand the meaning of it by doing that motion while they're reading a story. That's one of the tips that I like to do with my kindergartners. So that's pretty much it with this read aloud section. Now it's time to introduce high frequency words. These words don't follow phonics rules, so your students might get confused with this word. So beforehand, you can introduce this word to your students. I to my. I to my. They can stump or they can nod their head when they read this word within a sentence. So it's important for them to see them in a sentence, and then without having any difficulties, they can say it out loud, right? So beforehand, you can make them practice this, and then also help them to locate these high frequency words within a sentence. Good. Now, this is the comprehension check that I mentioned. They don't need to remember a lot of details about the story. So if you look at this one, how's the weather? Check first. The weather is fine. Or the weather is not fine. What was it? Like to hike outside, that means good. The weather is fine, right? So for them to understand this one, while you're doing story, make sure that they read when the weather is fine, right? So make sure that they notice that. Good. Now, last part of one unit is I can part. Through this part, you can check if your students master that target sound and words via listening and then also reading and then writing activities. So first, listen and write the missing letters. That means they need to listen carefully and then think about what sound they hear. So, it has a magic E, right? So, I. And then they need to listen these missing letters carefully. And then it has now 2 missing letters. Wow, it seems very hard, right? And then what about the third one? It has 3 missing letters. Oh my God, this is quite a challenge. So you can do some kind of tournament with your students. If I have very small class, then I make them guess this one, and then once they get to the first one, then they can invite to the next level, and then third level, and you can do it like that. But the thing is, if your students are very shy and then they don't have enough confidence to beat each other, that means don't do it, right? They're gonna be very intimidated by doing this kind of tournament. In that case, you can do a group work or pair work or as a whole class extra. So let's do the first one first.
Bite. Bite.
Bite, right? Good job, everyone. In that case, you can show some letter card. So, t or p. They can compare the different sound, and then think about the letters, right? Good. And then let's look at the second one.
Hive. Hive.
Hive. Long vowel I sound, right? That means magic E at the end. Check if your students have magic E at the end all together. And then last one over here.
What time is it? What time is it?
Time, right? I think I hear long vowel I sound, right? That means, yes, time, right? Good job. And let's read this sentence all together. What time is it? Great job, everyone. And let's get going. And in this case, your students are going to choose one of the activities that they like to do, and they're going to copy that sentence within the given line over here. So make them choose whatever they like to do over here. For example, hike, right? And what do you like to do? I like to hike, right? You can first invite your students, and then they can divide into 3 groups based on their choice, right? This group, hike. Second group, ride a bike, fly a kite, like that. And then you're going to verbally ask to your students, what do you like to do? I like to hike. Good job. High five. And then second group, what do you like to do? I like to ride a bike. Excellent. Amazing. And then third group, what do you like to do? I like to fly a kite. Amazing. So you can make them practice with their mouths, and then they can go back to their book. They can mark on their choice and then try to copy the sentence as it is said, right? So invite your students and then think about bigger class activity. But in this kind of activity, you don't need to prepare a lot to do it. So this is one of the tips that you can definitely use in your classroom. And this one, yes, if they choose fly a kite, that means yes. Okay, now they're going to listen and write and then think about the meaning of the word by choosing a right picture, right? So first,
Number 1. 5.
five, right? And what I like to do is I'm going to give them this a piece of white paper or this colored lined paper. So they're going to write this down and then show that to you. And if most of them got right, then you can show this word and then invite some of your students to choose the right picture. So in this case, they can actually listen, check their spelling by writing this, and also think about the meaning all together, right? And then let's look at the second one over here.
Number 2. Bite.
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 Bite. Right? Is there anyone who got the right answers? Amazing! I'm proud of you all. Great, and bite. Excellent. And then let's look at the third one over here.
Number 3. Pine.
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 Pine, right? Pine, right? Good job, everyone. And after you finish this exercise, now there's time to read the sentence, look at the picture, and then try to write that word. It might be intense for them. So what I can do as a teacher, you can provide the picture card around the classroom so they can have that little cheat sheet, right, around them. So they can look at that and then, oh, this is kite, but ite, right? So encourage them to write their own, but if your students are struggling, then try to provide those clues around the classroom. That's one of the tips that I can give you, right? And then this one too, I like to ride the bike, right? Good. And this part is my favorite part in Phonics show because they're going to keep this as their own, as their phonics dictionary. So if you look at that, this is the examples. Pine, right? Pine, and then bike, right? And over here, kite, and bite. So I witnessed some of the teachers, they use this as a kind of the pop quiz section. They're not gonna grade or they're not gonna give them some test result out of it, but you can encourage them to write their own. And as a teacher, you can walk around the classroom to check some of your students are missing this ein part or ike part or ite part. In that case, when you finish this I can part, you can review the section once more. And some of the teachers like to give this as their homework so they can sit properly in their house and then they can practice this word on their own. So this is one of the tips that you can use with your students. So this one is a bike and kite. And then next page is more examples with this phonics dictionary. And I think this is pretty much it for today. I hope through this workshop you have now clearer idea how to use phonics show with your students. So thank you a lot. I hope to see you soon.